All right, so today is just going to be a quick run through of our OES 408 engine that we have here, and just a down dirty, super basic inventory and just some simple operations on operating the pump and auxiliary pump. So we'll just do a quick walk around of the engine, show what we have for inventory here, and then we'll go through and do some pump operations. So engineers side here, we'll go through, we'll throw it in the pump later on. Tight space for the firefighters here in the back. So up top we got 1.5-inch hose. They are at 3 and 5, so I'm assuming that this is 200 feet of 1.5-inch hose here. First compartment that we're going to come across right here, you'll see that we got a lot of tools, a lot of hand tools, axes, a lot of our wildland tools and everything that are in here. But we also got a lot of shovels, hammers, sledgehammers, smaller sledges, some bolt cutters, pry bars. We also have some pickets in order to build a windlass picket system. This is on the side here. You can see that this is going to be an urban search and rescue type 3 engine. After looking up some of the specifications for our type 3 engine, we don't have some of the tools that are actually required for an urban search and rescue type 3. A lot of it ends up closer to a type 4. We'll explain that as we kind of go along and explore what's on the engine here. But what makes it an urban search and rescue is having these tools, having some of the rope rescue equipment that we have on it, some of the larger hammers, the saws, nails, support systems that we can build for structure collapses and stuff like that. Down underneath, bottom compartment, large 6-inch, I believe this is 16 feet of a 6-inch diameter hose. Got BA flathead axe, engineer panel. Reel line is on this side. The other side is taken up by the auxiliary pump. All right, so first door, front of the duals, you'll see here in the compartment a couple of the smoothbore nozzles, larger 1727 combination nozzle there. There's a big Siamese that we have in the back, some intake for our foam, increaser, etc. A lot more nozzles, adapters, etc. too. In the back we actually have a foam nozzle there. All right, so continuing on, and the compartment above the duals here, rope rescue stuff, a little bit more capacity than our normal type 1 rigs. A couple bags of rope here. Inventory says that they are 150 feet for the 1/2-inch static kerr mantle. We have 2 utility bags. I'm not sure the length on the utility bags. I have to look that up. We have a pre-rig system for our Stokes basket for any sort of high angle or low angle, I guess, operation and hooking up the Stokes. Okay, so now class 3 harnesses, 2 class 3 harnesses in here. We have all of our hardware equipment here, and then we have some Edge Pro, and of course our rope logbook. Last compartment here, rear of the duals, medical aid equipment. We have our defibrillator, suction, stuff for just kind of like basic medical necessity. Our generator with scene light, all of our gasoline, headbed for our Stokes, and backboard. Moving around to the rear of the engine. You'll see that this rear compartment that I have opened up, and again, this is part of our Type 3 Urban Search and Rescue. We have a lot of extra tools, toolboxes that are on here. Within the first toolbox, we got a lot of tape, some chisels, hacksaws, saws, some wood saws, extra hammers. That's because we have all these extra nails and everything going along with our extra tools that we have here in this canvas bag. We have some tool bags to wear around your waist whenever we're doing all of our carpentry stuff. All of our ladders. We have a 24, and I believe this is a 14 foot. Couple pike poles, attic ladder, and our C-spine board here. All right, so climbing up top in the hose bed. Oh yes, we have a complement of 1/2 inch forestry hose. There are five packs, our Cleveland packs. So we got 1,000 feet and another 800 feet of 1-inch line, which is down underneath here. You see in this compartment, we got a lot of different cots, pads, our sleeping bags, etc. Underneath all the sleeping bags, this is the turtle plastic, and we have that's 2 bags of cribbing that we have down underneath here, again to go along with our search and rescue stuff. Our Stokes basket is on top as well. Underneath here is all of our 3-inch supply line that we have, and according to the inventory, 1,200 feet of 3-inch line. This one's set up for an attack because we do have the monitor over here. A couple tricks that I learned with this. This thing does not have the capabilities of telescoping or rotating, so we're pretty limited in terms of what we can do with this. Not that we probably would ever use the OES and have, well, we might, using this for defensive structure protection, but you can only go up and down basically with the nozzle. You can't actually turn it. You got your pins here, and then we have the base there, so we'll end up supplying that with 2 3-inch hose, but it does have the 2.5-inch couplings there. So the other thing too with our monitor here is that this thing's already pre-plumbed. There's no discharge on the side. The way that we open it up is that handle right there. So the operator has their own capabilities of supplying their discharge to the monitor, as well as the reel line here. This is already basically pre-plumbed. As soon as you start giving the engine any sort of pressure, there's no discharge for it. You can just open up the handle and give yourself water. This is our separate auxiliary engine. I don't know too much about it personally. You can look up that information. There's stuff on Target Solutions, but this just allows us to have a different engine that's going to be able to pump our hose if we're going to do a pump and roll operation, which I'll show you later. Off of we can either do it with the reel line, or we can do it with the bumper line. Extra combination nozzle for our monitor there. I think I forgot to point out hard suction on each side of the rig. They are zip tied down, so it looks like we have to cut the zip ties off in order to actually get this thing out. And this looks like a 6-inch hard suction. Okay, so coming around to this side, compartment's open. This is on the captain's side. We have our portable pump. intake hose in here. We have the strainer, flotation device, food rations. Normally we have our chainsaw up here, which needs some operation use right now. Gas cans to refuel everything, extra snacks, extra chains and everything for the chainsaw, extra filter. This is all empty right now. More EMS equipment. This is specifically trauma stuff. I'm not exactly sure what this is filled with. This is extra foam, thermal gel. So this is extra foam that we have here. Another intake hose for the foam, and some salvage covers. All right, so last compartment, just rear of the firefighter door. This is the other side of our pull-out drawer here that had all the shovels and the picket system, fire extinguisher. Looks like we got another axe, pig-headed axe, Gatorades, some first aid equipment, and flares. Firefighter side, pretty tight quarters. Nothing really exciting here. So real quick, down and dirty operation engineer. Again, I am not the professional when it comes to operating an OES. I would recommend that you talk to your engineers when it comes to operating this and getting some more information. This is just what I found while I was messing around with it myself and asking Chris Hammond some questions. So battery's going to be on. Battery right there. Turn it on. I'll hop into the seat here. Ignition's down here at the bottom. Let it cycle through.
Engine 141.
Alright, ignition switch.
Engine 141 off trail.
Alright, so when it comes to operating the auxiliary pump, we have the controls for it down here. So we can turn the ignition on. It is going to give us this warning. But as soon as we start it up, it's basically an oil warning. So start button, ignition. There's a priming button here, and this is showing that we are getting some pressure. What we have to be cognizant of is our tank of pump needs to be open. Just that switch there. But ignition's on, started, pump engine is running, shows the light there. We are getting some pressure. We're getting about 45, it looks like. You can dial up your pressure. We'll set it at 50. The other thing too is you have your auxiliary pump controls out here as well, so you can turn it on within the cab. You have all your controls out here to dial in pump pressure, but what you can't do is if you dialed up the pressure out here, say we're gonna go to like 70 psi, we can't then turn it down out here. There's no place to go. You can only go up higher out here. So in order to get the psi down, you have to turn both of these down. All right, so that brings us back down to our engaged pump, 50 psi. So we can just turn off the ignition here. We can turn off and on the ignition and start the engine from both inside the cab. So we started it in here with the ignition on, push the start, or we come out here, turn it off. So you can hear that the engine's turned off now. But if we wanted to turn it on, ignition on, push start, we can prime it. If we needed to get our water, if there's any issues with not having water within our system, we can go ahead and prime the pump. And that's pretty much it. I don't have too much information on the priming portion of this, but this is a primer handle, and it's basically stating that it has to be in a certain position for the main pump versus the auxiliary pump, I believe, when you're priming. I'm not too sure. Read up on this, figure it out. All right, so back in the cab here. We just got through working with our aux pump, operating that, turning it on, giving ourselves water. Again, we can use this for our pump and roll with the bumper line that's out front. Makes it super easy. I don't believe that there, unlike the Type 3s, there's no relief valve on here. But having a separate pump, it's not the pressure is not going to be affected by the actual speed of the engine. Where the Type 3, as soon as you start giving it gas and rolling, it's going to end up affecting the PSI. Having a separate pump and a separate engine, it's not going to have that same effect for the pump and roll. All right, so OES pump operations. We're currently in neutral. We got the parking brake on. We already have our chocks down. We're gonna go ahead and switch this into pump. We got our lever, two-stage lever here. All right, so in pump, we're gonna put it in drive. We're gonna see a kick up in our miles per hour, which is a little bit different than our Type 1s. You can also hear the engine RPMs have increased as well, and all of our gauges. So parking brake set, come out. Since this is already here, probably just automatically switch tank to pump. It's going to be in the off position. We're going to switch it to the open position. Turn on our panel lights, which we have up here. We don't have the same 3 panel lights that indicate, like our Type 1s, indicate whether or not we're in pump. And I haven't found it yet, but there is an indicator light out here that determines whether or not we're in pump. It might be these lights here. I'd have to check that out. We have our water gauge over here. We don't have a set gauge like we do on the Type 1s. As I previously mentioned too, we have all of our discharges located right here. But for our reel line, there's not a reel line discharge. As you can see, we're pumping at 50 psi. The reel line's still going to work. And then the same goes for the deluge or the master stream. There's no master stream discharge up here. It's just that that gated handle that it has up top. So the person, whoever's working the master stream, is the one that's going to be giving themselves the water. I believe I haven't really messed around with this a whole lot, but this is like our pump bosses that we have on our Type 1s, our new Pierce. So we go ahead, crack the tank fill. What's cool on here is that it actually has a indicator for pump circulation and actual tank fill. So we'll go ahead and start circulating some water. We dial up our PSI. Here the engine's going, water's going someplace. Bring it back down to idle, close our discharge, and that's pretty much it. back inside the cab. We can go ahead and take this out of drive. Take our pump out of pump. So it does look like this light is what comes on to indicate that you're in pump. This one stayed on, this one's now off, so I'll go back check that out, see if we throw it back in pump, whether or not that light ends up coming back on. So we got the light. Real quick, I know we looked inside the compartment for the firefighters. This is where your DEF is located at. So if you have a hard time finding it, that's why. And it looks like it's not going to be fun to try to fill this thing at all. One other thing that I forgot to point out is the chocks are kind of located in a weird place. They basically just hang on the bottom of the bracket there.